wanted to introduce the panel today. I'm Debbie Bookstaber. I am the president of Element Associates. We're a digital marketing agency in Philadelphia. We handle affiliate marketing, PR, social media, and all those general digital things. And you can tweet me at BuzzMommy. Sometimes it's the easiest way to reach me. We also have with us Ciaran Blumenfeld. She's on the far end there. She is the co-founder of Hashtracking, which is a social media analytics company. And she's also the blogger behind Momfluential. And you can tweet her at Momfluential. And we have Kelby Carr, who's the CEO of Type A Parent. Kelby runs a very large blog network, successful blog and conference series. And you can tweet her at Type A Mom. And then we have Parris, who's the managing partner of Midlife Boulevard, which is a online magazine and community of bloggers at Midlife. They run a conference called BAM, so Bloggers at Midlife Conference, and they also have a very large and active community of bloggers. And you can tweet her at Not a Supermom. And so basically all of us share one thing in common, which is that we are all bloggers, but we also all are business people who have kind of a career and history in the internet and digital space. So we're going to try to be very useful for you guys. So the first slide is tools for identifying and evaluating bloggers. So as somebody who's been an affiliate manager and also been an affiliate, this is a question that comes up all the time. So we want to talk a little bit about how to find bloggers, what tools, and then also how to determine if a site's a fit. So I guess we're going to start with Ciaran, and we'll run the way across. So Ciaran, what's one of the tools that you use to find bloggers for a campaign?
Well, I'm biased. I like social media, I like looking at hashtags, and I use my own tool, Hashtracking, a lot to identify trends and to see who's using hashtags within a market and who's an influencer, who's being retweeted, who's got traction already on social media. That's important to really know. And then tools like Google. I'll let Kelby speak about blog networks because that would be my next stop and a really important one.
Yeah, I would say definitely blog networks are a good way to go. She and I both run a blog network, and we know our community really well. So I would say either blog networks, participating in them from a brand perspective in some way, or consulting, even if it's kind of getting advice on which bloggers would be a good fit, or working with them for paid campaigns and paid strategy. But I would also say even just the basic consulting piece, I think, can be really helpful because there's a lot of bloggers who you can Google or use sort of data-based resources who game their numbers, or who they might have, 1 million followers on Pinterest, but is anybody actually repinning anything they do? Does it have any traction? So, sometimes numbers are bought or misleading, or they're gotten from giveaways, so those aren't really real engaged readers. And there are some people with really small numbers that don't look impressive who have a really fiercely loyal community behind them. So they have a tenth the numbers, but those people will buy as soon as they say go. So that's where I think it can be really important to work with people who know a lot of bloggers, and they know them well enough to know who has real value and who doesn't, and who's good to work with and who's not.
And I think for me, one of the best things I did was build a community, and now, we support each other, and I can also vet people through the community. And I'm in some affiliate, my community is in a private Facebook group, and those are really, really valuable and almost like the secret of Facebook. And I'm in some of affiliate programs here where they have private Facebooks. And when those are run well and you develop the relationships, it can be a really, really valuable tool for a marketer.
There's no real shortcuts to finding bloggers, and it's always going to be a partnership if it's going to be successful. So you have to put that time in right from the start. It's super important to take the time to do the research, to join groups, to look at many different ways of looking at a blogger, to look if they're active in Facebook groups, are they active in specific communities, are they out in their community doing things. It's not just the numbers. The numbers would be your jumping off point, but doing as much research as possible at the beginning is going to set the foundation for a successful relationship in the long run.
So, and actually, I would say that I've used all of those tools. I've certainly used Hashtracking in order to identify who's tweeting about a certain trend or a keyword related to my brand's campaign or to my brand's competitors. And then I can use the tool to find who's the most influential bloggers on that and then to directly target them. I've also, I've been an active participant in both Kelby and Ann's groups for years, and actually have used them for my clients. A few other tools to note, just some of these are more traditional tools or more paid tools that I've used is, I have used Group High. It's a fairly expensive tool, but it's for kind of blogger research and then campaign tracking. I would say with some caveats with it, sometimes you look at compete.com numbers and other numbers for total unique visitors are not always accurate. So one of the techniques that I often do with bloggers that I have paid campaigns with is I do request a copy of their Google Analytics screenshots because, for example, my numbers in Group High and Compete for my own blog are about a fifth of what they actually are as reflected in my Google Analytics. So you have to take those tools with kind of a grain of salt. Another tool that I've used is Ciaran. That's another paid subscription tool for finding the press. Again, when you pull those lists, you have to be really cautious because they will group people in groups that might not always be appropriate. So for example, I love the site, Jenny Lawson's site, The Blog S, but they'll group her as a mom blogger. And while she technically is a mom and she's also a blogger, if I were to send her kind of a general like, Dear Mommy Blogger email asking her to review a baby product, she would quite rightly blast me because it would show I'd never read her site. And then the other technique I really like to use is obviously SEO. I know the top ranked keywords for my programs that I manage, and I will find the people who rank on page 1, or even people who might rank on page 2 and 3, but who I think with some proper guidance, because they've got high site authority, could rank higher. And for tools like that, it's useful to use SEO Moz and Raven and some of the other SEO-based tools that you might have a subscription to find affiliates, just like you might find people for link building. But then one of the other things we wanted to talk about in this slide is how, once you get that list, it's very important to vet it, like I noticed, I mentioned before about, you don't want to categorize people like the blog ass as just a mom blogger. So once you get the list, how do you look at the site to see if it's a fit? And we'll go reverse order.
Oh, well, most bloggers who work with brands or with affiliates, they're going to have a media kit. And the problem with the media kit is those numbers are self-reported. So when you have a relationship with someone, you can ask to see Google Analytics, but that's kind of a fraught topic with bloggers. I mean, if you want to see under my skirt, you got to know me better first. You have to really know someone well to ask them for a snapshot of their Google Analytics. It's very, some people, there has to be a lot of trust there to get those. So you're going to rely a lot on self-reported numbers, and most bloggers are very honest. And if you have that relationship, I think that's one way to understand that.
Well, and I think too that you want to look and see, for bloggers, a lot of them are monetizing with sponsored posts because it's low-hanging fruit. And there's nothing wrong with that, but the problem that I'm seeing is that the sponsored post ratio is getting out of control on a lot of blogs. And so the very first thing when we're working on a campaign that we'll look at is how many of the, like on their homepage, how many are sponsored? And if every single one is, I will tip right back out of there because nobody engages a reader by doing 100% commercials. So, I think that's even something that you can kind of regularly communicate if you have bloggers kind of coming out to you is, like we have a standard that we want, there's always going to be fluctuations like the holidays can be really tough to keep the ratio down just because everybody's coming at you and wants it right now because of the timeliness. So December, November might be a bit of an anomaly, but I would say just kind of over a typical month, if you're seeing more than 20% sponsored posts or things like that, then I would go another way because their readers are getting nothing but commercial advertising all the time.
I also like to look at whether bloggers have worked with any brands long term. Do they have any ongoing brand relationships? Because typically, if you work with a brand and you don't perform, the brand doesn't come back and you don't continue to work with them. So if you look at, how long have they been working with the brand, and there's no substitute for actually reading content. You're not gonna eat at a restaurant with really bad food, so you're not gonna want to work with a blogger who has really bad content. So you have to read. You really have to read.
And other things to look for on those sites include, high quality content. So are the bloggers using video? Are they creating custom images? Or are they just copying press releases from sites? Some of those things can make a real difference. You might want to also check into, how are they ranking? What's their SEO like? Because of traffic alone, I've worked with many bloggers for whom they might have really high traffic, but it all goes to 1 or 2 viral posts. So they might not have any ongoing traffic to their new posts. And maybe they're not promoting them on social media.
Well, and I know there's a few times that I've seen some who have these fantastic numbers, and there also can be little hints that that's a bunch of crap. So like you go to, it used to be you could tell by comments, but honestly, so many people, that's not a good gauge anymore, because people, only a certain kind of blog tends to get good comments anymore, and a lot of blogs don't get comments there. The comments are happening on other other social.
Twitter.
But when I go, most decent blogs have sharing buttons with number counts. And if I go to someone and they say they get 1 million page views a month, and I'm looking at their last 5 posts and they've gotten 3 Facebook shares and 2 tweets, I'm calling bullshit on that because it doesn't jive. I mean, you might have one post that didn't do well, but you're not going to have all the recent posts not do well. So there's things like that too where you can tell, are those numbers inflated, are they bought, or are they misrepresented because they have one viral post that went nuts and that just keeps getting traffic over and over again, but they write for you and it's not going to have legs? So I think that you really have to kind of look at some of those things as well.
Yeah, and I like to tell a story. When I first started blogging, I wrote for 2 sites, and one was a mommy product review site. The other site was eventually bought by People magazine. It was Celebrity Baby Blog, and the difference was 70,000 impressions a month versus 1 million impressions a month. And brands would come to me and they would beg me to write about their product for the celebrity one with 1 million impressions a month. And sometimes I could, sometimes I couldn't. But in the months that I wrote about the same product on both sites, inevitably more sales resulted from the mommy blog one, because it was so highly targeted. It was an audience of readers who were looking for product. They trusted the site immensely, whereas the people going to the celebrity site with tons of traffic weren't necessarily there to buy a product. They were there just to see news about celebrities. So really making sure that you're targeting the right audience and not just looking for traffic is extremely important too.
Great. And now we want to talk about some defining ROI and how to measure it. This is one of the, as somebody on both sides of kind of the house here, it's one of the biggest issues, which is that if you define ROI when doing blogger outreach just based on immediate sales, as in sales that result from that post within like the first 7-day or even 1-month period, both sides are often going to be unhappy and disappointed in the other. From the affiliate manager perspective, you might say, oh gosh, well that was wasted effort. And from the blogger side, often they'll get this feedback like it didn't result in a lot of immediate sales. Now granted, there are some blogs that will result in immediate sales. For example, and with large numbers of immediate sales. I've worked with some coupon and deal bloggers where if you can get on their their homepage, you're going to get tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of sales in that first month. But then there's also a lot of niche blogs that can be very, very valuable for your brand and your company, in which you're not going to see $10,000 plus in sales in that first week or first month. And for a lot of us as affiliate managers, where we're trying to focus on that kind of 80-20 rule, that can be really frustrating because you never have enough time to really do outreach to everybody. And if your boss is looking at it just based on immediate sales that you've brought in from every group, it will be very difficult to convince your boss that you should be focusing your attention on bloggers, because it won't necessarily have the same immediate sales as getting a front page placement on a coupon or deal blog, or getting a great slot on one of the top loyalty sites. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind. And I think that the challenge here is that there's various ways to define ROI. And it's really important to have that be clear at the outset of a blogger relationship. If you don't make it clear at the outset of the relationship, people are going to be unhappy. And that's a really important thing to kind of think about. So I know we wanted to talk about a couple of different ways of defining ROI. So let's start with Kelby, and we'll just kind of hop around a little bit.
Well, I think too, what you're talking about a little bit is that it's really important to remember that what bloggers do is important, but it's top of funnel, and bloggers are planting seeds and they don't grow for some time. And so that is, I think, probably one of the biggest challenges is you don't want to lose the planting of the seed because nothing else ever happens, but it becomes very difficult to measure how you get from beginning to end. And we were just talking before, there is a product that I had shared about, what was it, like a couple months ago, I guess, and I shared a video, and she was saying, when I was talking about it as an example, she's like, oh, I shared that video, and I've had verbally several people tell me as soon as this comes out, they're buying it, but I'm never going to get any sort of credit for that, and there's a lot of people who are excited about buying it and maybe wouldn't have even known it existed if I hadn't just shared that video. So I feel like there's a whole lot of that kind of thing going on where it's really hard to measure, but it's immensely valuable. So I think you need to do kind of a lot of contemplating of, you know, what you can measure and what you can't and what your mission is, because I don't think, you know, of course, everybody wants sales, but it's an important piece of the sales, but you can't go, I'm going to talk to 10 bloggers and they're going to do a post and I'm going to make a whole bunch of money because they're going to make a lot of sales, because people don't necessarily interact with blogs that way. They trust blogs very immensely and they trust bloggers very immensely. So they'll see a blogger talk about a product and that'll stick with them for a year even, sometimes longer, the next holiday shopping season. And they're the real reason they bought it. They're the real reason that happened, but you'll never know that. So I think in some ways you got to go, we're doing this because we want to plant the seed and we know we won't necessarily see it sprout for a while.
And it might be helpful if you can dig into your Google Analytics and understand some of the multi-click attribution and the different, if you actually really have that customer journey and the pathway and a way of studying that within your analytics. Even then, it's not always 100% accurate for blogs because, for example, if I'm consuming blog content on mobile or social media forum, I might not immediately click in, but I might search for that brand another place, and then you will see an overall lift in, say, organic searches that month if you've done a large blog campaign, but you might not see kind of the direct click-throughs. But last click attribution certainly impacts bloggers doing affiliate marketing. But let's talk about some of the top of the funnel. Top of the funnel, we were talking about overall impressions and how you can monitor that. That's kind of an old school PR way of monitoring it. Just flatline. And then Ciaran, why don't you talk about some of the social media statistics that you use to evaluate bloggers?
Well, I mean, I would look at, first of all, I recommend highly using a hashtag because that gives you a way to monitor your campaign and your affiliates' performance across multiple platforms. If they're using a hashtag, it's universal across many platforms, so that's something that gives you data. You can see if buzz is building, you can see if people are using the hashtag. Oftentimes, people will go back and they'll buy a product months later, and they're not going to use that bit.ly URL that you sent out, but they may use the hashtag when they talk about what they've purchased if it becomes a thing. So you can monitor hashtags to see how it's doing. But I also wanted to talk a little bit more about the ROI concept, and when you work with a blogger, what your expectations are. When you hire a blogger, you're hiring somebody whose idea of success and their goals are to create good content if they're a good blogger. They're bringing something to their readers that has value. Bloggers don't define themselves as salespeople. So when you form a partnership with a blogger, you're really not forming a partnership with somebody whose professional and personal goals are to sell. And so to be aware of that, you have to really maybe adjust your thinking a little bit to think, what is this person's definition of success and how we can be successful together? And how you can be successful together includes creating great assets and great content, and content that has legs, that has longevity, that has a long tail, that's going to continue to plant those seeds about your brand in the future. So what you create together really matters, and how you define that relationship really matters. And in the example that Kelby just gave, that video was a great tool that the company gave to an affiliate that the blogger affiliate is really excited to share. And it may not be attributed, that sale, to that blogger, but it's memorable and it has a hashtag and it's going to be there for years. And that's something that has sort of like the most fertilized soil in which to grow and the best chance of success in the long run. So. And to track and to grow. But if somebody said, well, the goal in this campaign is really just immediate sales, the campaign would fail, as would most blogger affiliate programs, if the goal is immediate sales. And we've all been there on both sides of the equation, both as bloggers and as marketers, with somebody saying, okay, but we need to sell X number of product. And it's just not the best way to look at ROI. I mean, that's really the main point that I'm trying to make here.
And the market is changing. There is blogging has a lot of changes right now, and it's good to find a fit with influencers who excel on other platforms, whether that's Pinterest, which can have a really long tail, or YouTube. YouTube is the second biggest search engine. A really well done video that's short, to the point, people are looking for those. People are searching for those. So it might be a good idea to work with a blogger who's creating content like that already, who might be a good fit and can kind of naturally sell that way. Because people don't mind being sold to so much in a video if they feel like they're getting the real scoop on a product.
And here's a couple other examples I want to make sure that we mention. So things that I'm working with blogs that have been really important is to remember that the content can become evergreen content. There are posts that I wrote back in 2007 that consistently, certain seasonality, as long as I keep them updated and make sure the links are correct, will bring me in money still. So they're posts I wrote when my son, who's now 7, was an infant, or even when I was pregnant. The other thing, too, that you can measure is the organic lift. So I already mentioned how you can see kind of your SEO change, or you can see an increase in the mentions or the conversation around your brand when you're doing this. I've also, with some of our clients, say if I'm handling large as seen on TV campaigns, we can measure the results between, say, 1 week when we do on-air television advertising and the overall conversation and lift, and then the next week when, say, we just have blog posts coming out and the overall conversation and lift. I've also noticed with clients after blogger reviews come out that the conversion rate for the specific product that was mentioned in their reviews will go up on the site, even if you're not seeing, say, corresponding conversion rate increases for the rest of your products. So that's something to also look into. If you have the budget for it, it's certainly worthwhile to do some sentiment monitoring. So if you can see if during a blog campaign, if your overall positive versus negative sentiment, the positive rises. Some of those tools can be a bit expensive, like $400 a month or so, but if you have a larger campaign, it's certainly worthwhile to have that sentiment monitoring in place. Sometimes as a proxy for that, you can see the overall traffic on the hashtag. I recently did a brand campaign that brought in, just from the traditional unique visitors on the blogs, about 40 million unique visitors. But then when we looked into the overall traffic across the hashtag, it brought in another 35 million impressions just on Twitter and Instagram that we could see when monitoring it there. So it's definitely something to look at. The other thing I want to talk with these guys about, because I know that, for example, all 3 of them have done this, is something that has worked for one of my clients, which is using bloggers to create assets for your site. So I had a client, I run the Villeroy & Boch affiliate program, and years back we sent a few key cooking bloggers with massive influence products, and I also paid for recipe creation, food styling, and then to have the rights to use those photographs throughout our own content marketing on the website. And it certainly did, for the products featured, show a conversion increase, and they were useful marketing assets that the cost of obtaining them through bloggers was not higher than the cost of obtaining them through a traditional agency that would do food styling and that kind of purchasing of lifestyle photography. So it's certainly something to think about. But I know that all 3 of these guys have worked successfully on that content creation side as well.
Yeah, I've been hired to create content for the sales sites, for the websites, and the thing is that just helps across the board. And also, I keep sharing it. So you pay me once, and I keep supporting and driving traffic from my social to your site. So again, that's another asset for somebody who has a social media following.
Well, and there was a company that was launching, and they wanted to launch knowing that it was something that would be very popular with moms, since it was a healthy kids snack product. And they worked with us on a campaign to get bloggers to basically create their blog, so they would have sort of these mom experts over there. And so, basically what they got out of that was not only all the buzz, there were elements that we included in the campaign, like Instagram sharing with hashtags and tagging the brand and that sort of thing, but we mixed that social sharing with them getting their own content to see their new product blog so that once they launched, they had this great content. And that was content for them, plus it was the share. They were getting a lot of buzz from those bloggers sharing the content that was on their own site. So I think there can be some really creative ways to work together to get both the buzz and to get good collateral for your own site and your own promotional material.
I've worked on a few different as seen on TV type campaigns where we did blogger outreach prior to the product being launched on the commercials on TV, where we did both Instagram seeding an event with a product and taking photos in a gorgeous location of a lot of women using that product and really happy with the product, as well as doing YouTube reviews, which were live and listed and in the top results on the Google, page 1 for the brand when those infomercials hit the air. And those were both really successful at building buzz and positive sentiment for the product before it even, hit the market. So that, and then those assets were used for months and months afterwards. The company wrote blog posts and used the Instagram pictures. They sent out the tutorials, to their mailing list. So those were all really, very valuable assets created by bloggers.
Oh, and actually, just one other thing with that launch site, they actually had a page that was a social image feed. So, as soon as they launched, they weren't even in stores, but they had a visual feed, this wall of all this great visual content that was being Instagrammed about their product at site launch date. So that was pretty cool.
And that's been very useful. So with one of the clients that we work with before their products hit the air, we ensure that certain key bloggers that we can trust to respect the embargo and the launch date will have the products ahead of time to create those video assets, to create those social sharing images. So then they're all ready on launch day for an overall higher lift. And also to have those assets that if you had to create them for your own social media pages or your own brand content, that would work. There have been cases where we worked with the site development teams to ensure that there'd be a link to say, click to see a video, which will be a product review video, that if you have an item that's a considered purchase or more expensive, can really help increase the conversion rates because you can see it better from a video than you can from just the regular product. And in particular, sometimes the ROI can be high there if you don't have a team in-house to do video creation and you can partner with somebody in an affordable manner to do that video creation.
I also wanted to say with the case in Instagram, there is a bit of a hop on that bus and join that trend. If you're working with good influencers who have a really engaged audience and they're able to showcase product in a really kind of fun way, then there's this, elf on the shelf kind of effect where everybody's like, hey, I got to get that. I'm going to do some cool pictures. I want to be a part of that. So then you get other people creating content that is kind of, ongoing and it's, it's very organic and you build momentum that way pretty quickly. So that's like a best case. It's a fun thing to see happen as well.
The other thing I would encourage you to do is to utilize bloggers sometimes before a product launches in order to either do some product research or to even do some site research. So we've done a couple instances of sending out products to people maybe a month before launch and having them, literally we're paying them perhaps $50 or so to fill out a very detailed survey about using that product, how it works. The results of that survey, if good, can be sent on to buyers. So if I've got clients who have a combination of online and retail, like people like the Walmart and Toys R Us buyers love seeing those survey results. So it can be very useful. The other tool that you can use if you're identifying certain bloggers is you can send them to a site such as usertesting.com in which you can actually have them do, you can actually watch what their screen looks like as they're going through a detailed user testing questionnaire. And so you're looking with kind of your exact target market while also somebody who's very familiar with other sites online and how they might respond to it, giving you maybe sometimes some very good feedback about the copy on your site or even the site design and what they like or don't like. And things like that can make a very big difference on your conversion rate. So you really need to think about your landing pages, or perhaps sometimes they'll say, I would use this product for this, and you'll think of a whole other use for a product that you hadn't thought of before. I know you guys have been involved in those kind of efforts as well.
I was just going to mention real quick when you talked about the retail side, with that same campaign, she then had buyer meetings with Walmart and Target, and a big part of her proposal was showing the social media buzz that was already happening that helped her make the sale to, that's it's huge for her product to be in Walmart and Target. So there can be a lot of levels of benefits that go beyond just thinking beyond just the click and the sale.
So we've talked a little bit about the different types of ROI and how to define it. And I know it can be challenging if you're just the affiliate manager, depending on who within your company you have access to, how integrated your marketing and PR departments are. So that's why I want to talk a little bit about the elements of a successful blogger campaign. Because certainly one of the things that we've seen is that when things are not integrated, when your affiliate manager kind of works in a little silo and has no idea what's going on the brand side or the product development side or marketing, it can be really difficult, and there can be some very frustrating communications back and forth between bloggers and affiliate managers. So let's talk a little bit about some best ways to communicate with bloggers, or even some examples of poor communication and how that might, hurt a relationship.
I'm not trying to hug the mic, I swear. Okay. So recently, and it's probably one of those things I would have just dropped right away because it wasn't that important and I didn't really care that much if I joined the program. But since we had this talk, I kind of kept playing it out. But recently I applied for to be an affiliate with a company that would have been an absolute perfect fit. And they emailed back, it seemed very clear they sort of didn't even really quite understand what my site was or what I was doing, and they did this, it was this sort of, I was sharing it with the group, kind of forwarding the emails and going, look at what's happening here. And so as someone, I've been doing some kind of affiliate linking of some sort since I joined Amazon Associates in '94, so I'm someone who's on the more savvy side, and I'm trying to picture like some of these new bloggers who barely even understand what affiliate is. And I can't communicate with this person and explain to them that I'm a blogger who's going to share a link. Like, it's kind of insane to me how difficult it was. So I played it out basically until they stopped emailing me back, and then I got the decline email, and it had like, the reason you were declined was, and it was blank. Yeah, you're annoying. But so, and I wasn't rude, but I just kind of going, you think I'm this, but let me explain, this is what's happening. So, it was a perfectly pleasant exchange. Nobody was mean, but it showed this sort of like wall of misunderstanding going back and forth that most bloggers will get that first email that even questions them and go, tip right out. So I feel like, if you even not even getting into the lingo that bloggers don't understand or that they don't fully grasp how it works, just getting into, it can feel hostile, I think, to bloggers who, when it's just sort of a business thing and they don't understand, oh, I'm being rejected, but it really isn't because my blog is horrible, it's because I didn't meet a certain criteria or something like that.
I would consider myself more on the noob side of the blogger equation with working with affiliate, and a lot of the emails that I get, and I get dozens and dozens per week, all read to me like, wah, 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 advanced calculus, wah, 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 wah. And they terrify me because they use a lot of jargon and terminology that as a blogger I really don't understand, and I call Debbie and I say, can you please read this email and tell me if I should sign up for this program or not, because she understands more about the last click attribution type end of the deal than I do. I'm more about the relationship and the partnership and the strategy. So that is definitely a deterrent, and really trying to speak in blogger language and understanding that what bloggers want to do is create great content for you. And if they believe in your product, then they're going to want to be an affiliate. And if they are an affiliate and they believe in your product and they're great content creators and they're good sharers, then it's going to seed sales, but maybe not immediately with the bit.ly link that you provide them.
I think one challenge is bloggers and marketers use different terminology. So as an affiliate marketer, if I'm talking to a traditional affiliate, I might say, oh, here's our average EPC, here's our average order value, our average commission's this, and and really all those metrics to me as an affiliate person are really important. A blogger, that's not as important to them. What might be more important is if, say, you notice, hey, you already have a page 1 ranking on this term. We have a product here that we think would be a fit for this. Here's what, based on, if, say, you had 10,000 page views to this, here's what we estimate your earnings per month could be from that. Help them translate it into something that actually relates to their site. The other thing that can be useful is having them if you find a blogger that you've developed to be successful for your site and you have them personally tell their friends that that site's successful, is a personal endorsement. So for example, way back when pajama jeans were launched like 1 million years ago, I wound up doing so well in their affiliate program and making like tons of money. And I remember telling a bunch of other people who then did really well in that affiliate program. And so it's you know, that word of mouth, it's like, oh, if it works for her, it can work for me. It can be very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, the first story I ever heard about affiliate was her pajama jeans story, and I thought, I could do that. I like pajama jeans. And I had a point. Pajama jeans. No, it's definitely.
Yeah.
But so bloggers are professionals, and we want to learn, and we don't understand all of the terms in affiliate. So while we don't need hand-holding, we do need education. And a good first contact with us through email is if it's made very personal. Like I get 300 emails a day, and Ciaran gets 800 emails a day. But if you say something, I mean, don't ever call me a mommy blogger. People hate that. I don't mind it, but it freaks people out. But I mean, definitely use my name, not my blog name. Read my blog and mention something that you read on my blog. I know you just read that one thing, but at least it shows me that you're trying. And tell me, you know, how we can work together. Not just what's in it for me, but I mean, I want to build a long-term relationship that's going to be beneficial for both of us. And I don't need hand-holding, but I do need education still. And I think I see people out here in the audience right now who I know do it really well. And you're not going to get 100% great contact. We were just talking with an affiliate manager, and he said for every 5 emails he sends out, he gets back 2 or 3 good replies. And even though he's targeted, he spent time on that site, it's a very personal email, we get so much email, it's just not all going to get opened and read. So you have to stand out, and that personal touch will take you a long way.
And view them as ongoing relationships rather than one and done, because it's a waste of your time to work with a blogger once and then not have that product or every new product that comes out be consistently mentioned with them. I mean, I've worked with certain brands where the bloggers that we bring in for the campaigns, we just basically say we start with 10 bloggers. Well, then the next month, you know, we might bring on 20 bloggers, but we still retain those original 10. So you can grow a sizable brand influencer community that way.
Yeah, we want blogger match, not blogger Tinder.
That's a great line. Blogger match, not blogger Tinder.
I like that. I gotta digest that for a moment. The other thing I think that is important to keep in mind as sort of the backstory is that a lot of bloggers either have never done affiliate anything, whatever. They do sponsored posts because that's handed to them. A lot of bloggers have experimented with it, done it poorly, didn't make money, and decided it was bad. A lot of bloggers have used something like Amazon and go, oh, I did all this work and I made 27 cents last month. So you have a hump to overcome too, in that it's not your fault, but you have to prove that this is worth it. So when you send an email and you say affiliate right off the bat, they're going, I'm not going to make any money because I don't have 1 million page views a month. And so I feel like the relationship or getting to know them in person, online, working on things that are more long-term, that is how you do it, and talking to them like a regular person, because you've got to kind of convince them that they can make money, because they're pretty skeptical that they're going to make any money. And one other thing too is to remember with bloggers, they're not going to just create content to do an affiliate link to make money. They need to have the product, and it doesn't mean they're greedy and want free stuff. It means they're never going to write about something, almost never, unless they have used it. Whether it's a review or just including it in something or sharing about it on social, they're not going to do it just because they have an affiliate link in most cases.
And that's where it's helpful for you to take the time to understand the blogger terminology. So I always advise, take a time to download the media kit or take a look at their advertising page. That way when you're talking to them, you can use their same language. So if you see that they have, here's my review policy, here's my sponsored post policy, here's my social media promotion policy. Well, then sometimes if I'm writing them, I could say, I see on your site that your sponsored post rate is X. What I am looking for is for people to join my affiliate program. However, I believe it would work for you, and I'm looking for a long-term relationship, but I can offer you that X amount for your first post, but I would also like you to agree to integrate affiliate links in it, so that way you can see that I believe it would work for you. Sometimes if I start off that way and I view it kind of almost as like a slotting fee or a placement fee, then if I can determine then, if as long as it's within my budget, which bloggers work going forward, and I can then choose to, if they've made enough money from the affiliate link, and also tell them, hey, it's not just the money that you make now, that affiliate link is evergreen content, you'll continue to make money from it. Then sometimes they'll naturally include my product or my affiliate link in ongoing posts, because it got them beyond that first barrier of, is this worth it for me? And you can't do that indiscriminately. You really have to be selective about the bloggers, but if you do that, it can be useful.
I would agree with that. And on the blogger side, I have had a lot of brands that came to me originally for a sponsored post, and then I became an affiliate, for that product, because I saw that, well, two things. One, it was creating content that resonated with my readers, and that product and that content was valuable to them. Two, it was content that was provided to me by the brand that also resonated with my readers and was valuable to them. So right there's a relationship. I'm the type of writer that I do need to have the product in my hand. I'm not going to recommend anything that I don't touch and feel that my readers will maintain their respect and say thank you to me for introducing to them. I think like coupon and deal sites, that might not be the
That's
case,
different
but
for them.
regardless, but you need to have the content and the assets that people are sharing that have a value for the readers.
So let's talk a little bit about some of those best techniques and tactics, about some of the assets that have been provided to you by affiliate managers that have worked and helped you make some of the sales, other than just the money and the product.
For me, it's been great video, great photography, and just getting an email saying, hey, we have this sale coming up. Here's 5 pictures. Here's the link with, with your link with the ad size that we know you use, so that all I need to do is say, okay, I'm going to feature that top right on my site. I'm going to write a post about their spring collection and the great clothes that they have. Put that link in, and I'm done. They're speaking my language. They know how a blog works. They know how I work, and there's no scary want jargon in the email. That's great.
I would say too, if you can get get products that are coming later to a blogger but in advance, they're going to be very excited to share. Even it may not even be a blog post, but they're surely share on social, and and again, say I'm going to send you this. It doesn't come out until next month. What you can share to get some buzz about it, and give them their affiliate link if it can be pre-ordered or things like that, because I think that a lot of bloggers really like to have that sort of advanced access, or like what you were talking about, have it advanced, and even if they can't really use the affiliate link until it's live, they can have that content ready to, boom, just fly. Or they can sort of do little teasers, like a partial picture on Facebook, and go, I'm getting a sneak peek at this, and I'll share more when it hits shelves, that sort of thing.
So for example, one thing that's really helpful is if I have a blogger review a product when it launches, and I know it launches, say, long before Black Friday or any of those sale periods, I will let the blogger know, I'll revisit it to say, by the way, you might want to take this post and update it and maybe re-promote it on social. That doesn't have to be a new post. They could take the same post and re-promote it out through all their social channels to say, now this product is 50% off. So if you liked it when you first saw it from me but didn't buy it then, it's time to do it because it's 50% off. And so revisit your previous blog post when it's time for a sale, because they've already, say, written something nice about your company or your product, and it's a great time to get them to do it. We're going to be taking questions really soon. So the last thing is connecting with bloggers. The G moved. We don't like that.
Tweet that.
But yeah, so basically, we want to talk about some of the best ways to connect with bloggers once you've identified them. So, and how to build a lasting and useful relationship. And I'm going to move it back up to our Twitter so you'll be able to find us there. So what are the best ways to connect with bloggers? So you have that list. One of the important things is to vet that list. So whether you have to personally take time to click through all those blogs or to ask somebody that's an existing blogger or a group to vet that list, you have that list, you've got that good list, you know the people you want to work with. How do you build a lasting and useful relationship?
Well, for me, I think all my best relationships in affiliate have come from meeting in person first. I mean, I see people in the audience here who I met when I was a nervous young affiliate for the first time, and they took the time to build that personal relationship with me. And you can't always count on bloggers coming to affiliate summit. So sometimes you need to find a conference or any kind of event that's a good fit for your product, and attend and meet people and just be social. There's no substitute for that personal touch. And I mean, that's expensive. That's going to take budget. But when you meet somebody in person, you get really the best feel for them, better than you could ever get from just an email.
And, if I've met somebody, I open their emails unless they annoy me. So every time, yeah. So maybe even if they did annoy me, so I can argue with them. But I think that the in-person is huge. But I also think that it is important to be where bloggers are, and that doesn't necessarily need to be in person. Yeah, in a bar. See you there later. But be where they are online. Even if you're not going to be crazy active, say on Instagram, but you know that Instagram is driving a lot of and Instagram can be pretty hard to track if you're not sponsoring because you can't link. But be where they're hanging out. If there are Facebook groups that have bloggers and you can join, and you can join, and I have a Type A Parent Facebook group that marketers are more than welcome to join. If you can't come in and spam, we have rules about what you can share, but there's a ton of value to joining some of these groups, and just even if you're lurking and overhearing what the pain points are for bloggers and what's important to them, we work together best when we understand each other. And if you do have a blogger and you can take a few minutes in person or using something like GoToWebinar to walk them through with their site and help them do the best things they can do, a lot of times it's, I think it was what you said, it's an education issue where they're very time pressed, so they don't have 5 hours every week to experiment with what works for affiliate. They don't have that kind of time, and they don't have the knowledge that you have. So it could be like, hey, we think you're a perfect fit. Would you like to do a 1 hour, one-on-one? We'll meet up and GoToWebinar or something like that, where you could, or whatever, where you can screen share, and I'll go through and I'll tell you what I think would work best for you. So things like that.
I think being generous with your time. So, for example, Missy Ward and I used to go around and speak at a lot of the different blogger conferences. And yeah, it's where I first met Ann. Now she's a very good friend. But by giving that time to give that education, then because it's relationship based, when I needed help or something, they were willing to be there. The other thing that I would often do is, how can I make this easier for you? Well, I share a lot of nonprofit campaigns. I do a lot of U.S. government work. And so one of the things the blogger said is, I want you to write me a customized post that's custom for my exact website. And it's not with SEO links or anything like that. I'm not trying to get anything over on them. It's from a public relations perspective. But once I hit that magic, like, oh, this is how I can make it easier. And then I had bloggers say, what actually would make it even easier is if you actually logged in, I gave you a special login to my site, posted the content in there, set it in there for me to approve, and I'll approve it later. And, and I would do that because then I would get those things up. So then that's how you can make campaigns be more turnkey once you've developed those relationships. Obviously, don't go up to a blogger and be like, hey, give me a login to your site, I'll post for you. They would probably think you're crazy, but that's the kind of thing that develops over a longer relationship and can ultimately streamline the process, where somebody who might otherwise be too busy to take that hour to post something for me, if I can create it, load it in there, they can see it, see that it's high quality, then they'll click, it's beneficial to both of us because I get an additional placement, and they get content that can earn them affiliate money.
Yeah, HTML is even better. So if you can write something and just put it in WordPress format, and then a blogger can go in and copy and paste and then embellish and add their own links, etc., that's great. I was just going to say, for finding bloggers, taking that time to give people a guided tour and build that trust, but then you also have to trust them. And if you have somebody who's really great, ask them. Say, who else do you think might be a good fit? That's part of the give and take of a relationship, is the people that you're already working with. They're in the community, they're in the Facebook groups, they're monitoring the hashtags, and they know who you might want to work with in their own community. And also, back to the hashtags, just building lists, looking at other people's lists on Twitter, looking at lists of, people who contribute to something very central to your market on Instagram is a great way just to identify people to start following and watching and reaching out to.
It can also help you become a part of the community. So if I know, for example, that a blogger group that I really want to work with has a weekly Twitter chat, I might start joining in that Twitter chat, not to promote my stuff, but just so they know my name and I can kind of become friends with them. The other thing I might do is, I follow a lot of bloggers on Facebook, and so if they have a blog post that I connect with, I'll comment on Facebook often because, that can maybe lead to us becoming Facebook friends. One of the most powerful forms of communication is to skip emails with bloggers and get either directly in a Facebook group with them or have them like you enough that you become a Facebook Messenger friend. Because Kelby gets, all these people get so many emails. So when I have something really urgent for a client, and I don't spam them, but if I Facebook message them, it's like it will actually get done. And granted, if I did it too much, they'd block me. But if you can get to that level of a relationship, you'll be a lot more successful.
And I just did want to note super quickly too, it sounds like a lot of work, but a lot of the time investment is just on the front end. And once you've done that, you need to do so much less of it later because it's just getting over that hump of being trusted, of the education, and of showing and proving to them that they can make money with it. Because once you're past that beginning hump, then it's much less, it's more on autopilot, just to not scare you that you have to hold everybody's hand once a week. So.
And we're going to make sure, I'll let Ann comment, and then we'll take some questions as well.
And there's a way to go to conferences at a greatly reduced cost to you and your business, and it's to pitch to speak. Please, please teach us your ways. Pitch to speak. The best way to find conferences is to Google 2016 blog conference schedule. I know there's some good calendars already in existence on iblogmagazine.com, and Blogging Concentrate has a good one. But if you just Google and find those calendars, you can link through, see what's good, a niche blog or a niche conference for your site, and then pitch to speak, because we're all we're all curious about it. We all want to learn more. It's a little scary to us, but we hear there's money there. So please help us make money.
And also keep in mind that not everything sounds as expensive or as intimidating as you might think. So, I have huge blogger lists because, I've owned an agency for years and been in the blogging space and affiliate space for years. But for example, I just did something recently with a very niche gourmet food client. And I pitched one blogger, and she wrote back to me and she said, I have this group of 150 bloggers that we all write about gourmet food. I would be happy to send a newsletter blast out for you about this opportunity for $200. And, granted, I could have said, I can Google that myself, or by the way, you've got them all listed on your site, I could just individually go and find their names and do it. But you know what? Even though I know so many bloggers and there was some overlap on our list, those bloggers had a relationship with that woman. That $200 investment that I put in was great because I can tell you I had tracking things and they could all apply for my opportunity. I had maybe over 100 bloggers apply for my opportunity from having paid that small amount to have that email go out from that trusted source that was their personal friend. Even though I know most of the bloggers in Ann's group, I have a client that every year when their campaign comes around, I partner with her on, because guess what? Those people, they might be my friends, but they're her friends, right? And so they will post for her, and it streamlines the process for me. And in terms of headcount and other things, it can actually be economically very efficient, as opposed to your own resource who might not be as effective. So I think sometimes we get intimidated because if you go to some of the biggest and most well-known blogger agencies, they might give you these insane numbers, and you're like, are you kidding? I'm not a consumer packaged goods product. I'm not Dove. I'm not Procter & Gamble. But if you kind of continue to search for the right resources, you very much will find people that fit within your budget.
And here's a shortcut for just basic list building. Every conference makes a Twitter list of attendees and speakers. So find a conference that's a good fit for you. Look at last year or the year before that attendee list on Twitter, and boom, follow those people. And that's a really quick, good way, and it only is a time investment.
Great. Now let's take some questions.
Do we have a mic wrangler?
We don't have a mic
I'll
wrangler.
mic wrangle.
Oh, good.
Hey, tip your waitress. Try the veal. Young sir. Please say your name whenever you get the mic.
Dustin Howes, WP Engine Affiliate Manager. What's the ideal email? You guys talk about you get 300 emails a day, you get 800. What's the ideal title in the email that would get you to open that email? Okay.
Actually, what I found, I've actually measured if I'm doing a sponsored post or a promoted post or direct money up front, I will actually put that in there. I will put sponsored post opportunity. And if it's a lot of money, say it's like, I would actually put the amount of money in the subject line, because a lot of bloggers set up filters where sponsored posts, sponsored reviews, paid advertising, they will actually search for that stuff and then they'll open those emails first beyond the ones that don't have that in the title. So if you are indeed paying money, that's great. The other thing is that because many people use filters on their email, if it's an affiliate opportunity, well then, you could put the affiliate opportunity within the subject line, because it might go into a box that they have a virtual assistant that's just for affiliates, that assistant knows that they answer like that folder. So whatever you can do to help it fit into their folder system, so much the better, because the ones that automatically sort into folders in my email, I can have my assistant or somebody else read those, but if they don't go into a folder, they might go into the big black hole of messages that, unless I know you and I've put you on my like little special list where you get a flag, I wouldn't see it.
5 minutes. Oh, Kelby has something to say.
I would say it seems on face value like a subject line saying partnership opportunity would sound lovely, but there have been so many partnership opportunities that where we'd love you to do a whole bunch of stuff for us and we do nothing for you, that it's actually gotten a taint. So I just thought I would throw out, don't say mommy blogger, don't say partnership opportunity, because I physically react when I see partnership
And if you use the word brand ambassador, if it is paid, say paid brand ambassador, because there's been so many opportunities where people say brand ambassador and it no longer means the same thing that it used to mean.
Yeah. Anyone else? Questions? We good? Okay, great.
My name's Jimmy. The question I have is related to the ROI. You talked earlier on about, and I know it varies by campaigns, I'm sure, and product. But when you look at, is there an overall average that a brand can expect versus brand awareness versus ROI?
It depends on the product.
Yeah,
There
I
are
figured,
certain
yeah.
products that, especially if it's a digital-only product or a product that leads to an immediate conversion, that I very much can, if a brand comes to me, say to them, if you did this blogger campaign, I believe it will bring in X amount of sales. Say that there's a product that's an online-only product, because it's one of those hot as seen on TV products, I can typically, maybe based on past experience, say how much I think it will bring in. If it's a product that is available at every single store, your Walmarts, your Targets, your Toys R Us's, you have to realize that your sales are not going to be the same. So the metric really does vary based on every individual type of product. It also varies based on, is it an impulse level product or is it a considered purchase level product? So over a certain amount of money, you're not going to see the same amount in direct sales as you would.
And I would say too that with the ROI, you need to be measuring the impressions on Twitter, impressions on Instagram. If somebody shared something and it got 500 likes, that's a metric to be measuring. So I think that's part of it too. It's easy to just measure sales, but that is really just a teeny tiny part of the picture.
And also, what you're asking people to put forth, should support what your goals are. If your goals are to build buzz, if your goals are to build sales, you should be building a program and creating and providing assets that support specific goals.
Yeah, we've got time for one more question.
One more question? Last question? Don't be shy. Okay.
Aloha, I'm Alan from Wellness Health Management in Clearwater, Florida. Earlier you guys were talking about kind of that, how can like affiliate managers kind of help educate bloggers and make that kind of transition an easier one, and kind of building that personal relationship thing, which is kind of, I find challenging as an affiliate manager to like do that via email, because I'm more an in-person social kind of guy. What would be your tips or thoughts on how that might be achieved, or whatever,
Well, if you do well in person, I think your biggest strategy should be go to conferences, because you'll feel the most at ease, and then have those be the people you get business cards to ask if they would be interested in continuing to chat, and then initiate sort of the next stages, or if it's appropriate, have them pop open their laptop and go, can I, show you how it works, that sort of thing. But I would say if you work best in person, focus on that, but obviously it's not realistic to do that all the time. And I think when you're doing the email, try to make it as much like an in-person exchange would be. Make it friendly, make it light, make it not salesy. And I think that's part of the disconnect too, is a lot of times bloggers are sensitive to being pitched to and having something feel like a sale. Like, you guys like to sell, they hate to sell. So then they hate to be sold too. So I think the more conversational you can be and the more personal, like I saw you tweeted this, I saw, whatever, like sometimes that can come off as insincere, but the effort is always appreciated anyway. The more you can make it like you're just networking at a party instead of pitching someone to do something, I think that helps a lot.
Okay, we're out of time, but we're happy to answer some questions and give cards and for you afterwards.
Thank you very
so
much, guys. I really appreciate it.